Did you know that every year all over the world, over 1.4 trillion pictures are taken? Now, if you divide that with respect to per second, it means around 45,000 pictures every second. Now, it is staggering to know that this kind of a number is seen in the world globally. And that's why when humans are eventually going to take 45,000 pictures per second, why not get better at it? And who better than Saurav Sinha to teach us how to do that? Because today's guest of honor in our masterclass is a person who from scratch has grown on to create his own photography empire, and he's going to teach us what is the basics of essential photography from even during the lockdown situations. How can you create magic from your camera? So namaste dosto, my name is Abhay Valsangkar and I'm a confidence coach, and I welcome you to this episode of the Masterclass series wherein we have Saurav Sinha, the professional photographer, as a guest with us, who's all ready to come and inspire us with his journey and few tips that will help us to take better photographs. So without any delay, let us welcome Saurav to the stream. So hi Saurav,
Yes.
very good evening to you. I hope everything is fine, all good?
Yes. Fortunately, hopefully everything is good.
Very true. The whole world is gone into the lockdown phase, and everything is happening virtually. We have never ever used
Right.
so much of videography, so much of video content than ever before. So it's a great time to be here. So Saurabh, just to quickly give you a background, we currently have a live which is there on Facebook, and we have a few people who have joined us for this live. So for all the
Right.
viewers who are watching us currently, please go ahead and type in your name in the comment box and where are you from, so that I can get a quick idea and I can say a hi to all of you for personally joining in. So just go ahead and in the comments write down your name and write down where you are from. So thank you so much for all the viewers who have joined in. And to quickly introduce, my name is Abhay. We have Saurav as our guest today, and Alter Ego Learning in association with Entrepreneur Excel welcomes you to this masterclass. So Saurav, first things first, can we know a little bit more about yourself from you, that how exactly did you choose a very unconventional career as a photographer, and what were the struggles, what were the difficulties, and how blessed do you feel today after achieving so much? So please go ahead and let us know about that.
Okay, so starting with welcome everyone. As Abhay introduced me, I'm Saurav Sinha, and basically I would not call myself a photographer first. Like, I was more into nature, and that interest of nature, like I started taking photos with my smartphone because I wanted to capture those moments in nature, right? Because I was so much in love with nature, I was like, I had to capture this so that when I go home I could cherish those moments. And that's how I started taking photos. And a lot of people, I think even you might have started taking photos with a normal mobile phone, and then you have gradually developed an interest towards photography. So nothing crazy about it. That's how I generated an interest for photography. But eventually what happened was, like, I started studying a lot about photography. So nature, landscape photography, these were the kind of topics I used to study a lot. And I remember the first image I saw was from the photographer Ansel Adams. So he's a black and white photographer, a black and white, he clicks black and white images. And after that I was literally blown away. How can a camera, like, just with simple perspective, can create such amazing images? And that's the moment I started reading more about photography. And yes, I mean, the reason I started my YouTube channel was I learned like, I am a self-taught photographer. I have not joined any course or any particular institute. So I read a lot of internet articles, watched a lot of YouTube videos. And then after a couple of years, once I felt I had a good grasp of all the technical terms, all the technical settings, I thought it's time to give back to the community. And that's how the idea of my YouTube channel started. Talking about the success, I feel it's more like, I feel very honored that I could inspire people and help people. That's always been the motive. So, like, the inspiration or the main motive behind the channel is to provide all the information I have for free to my audience, so that people who are not able to pay for institutes and stuff, they're still able to learn everything. And I feel honored that I could do that.
Wow, I think that's absolutely great. And how many of you find his words very inspiring? If you do, then go ahead and type it in the chat box, because what he mentioned right now was absolutely great. Because he is someone who doesn't want to hide the talent and the skills that he has, but he wants to give it to the world. And he says, I want to do it for free. And that is how he created his YouTube channel. But he was very humble by saying, I created my YouTube channel. That channel has got over 7 lakh subscribers today, and it's growing. So I think that's absolutely inspiring. So Saurav, I'll read a few comments for you. So we have Suma who's joined us, we have Zui, we have Pratik, we have Rudula, and all of them are typing in inspiring currently, and they're very, very happy to see you and your journey as you go ahead. So you mentioned about the first photograph that you saw and it inspired you, right? So when you entered into the world of photography, what was your educational background like before you entered full time into this? So how was your growing up and your early childhood?
Talking about my childhood, I was always a good student. I mean, I was never I never stood first, but I was always in the top 5 in my school. So like I was always a studious kind of a person. But like talking about education, I did my like I pursued science after 10th standard, and then I did my bachelor's in computer engineering. And currently I'm thinking of pursuing even computer masters in computer science in the future. But that was the background. And like one thing I want to add is my father is from IIT, and like I got a lot of pressure from the society that even I have to go into IIT and I have to pursue engineering as my main profession. But for me, I studied engineering because I was interested and I was passionate about it. I did computer engineering because I like coding and I like computers. Before I generated a passion for photography, I was mad about computers. So right now I'm mad about cameras. Previously I was mad about computers, and that's how I generated an interest. And I'm lucky enough that my parents did not force me to join any particular stream. Like I could pursue whatever I'm interested in. And yes, that's about my education background.
Excellent, superb. So I'm very happy to know that in a world wherein we have seen 3 idiots. अगर लड़का पैदा हुआ है तो engineer, अगर लड़की है तो doctor. So in a world of like that, you choose, in spite of the education that you had, to go ahead and follow your passion, and that is what is inspiring for us, for all the viewers who are watching this. So sort of the first picture that you took, which made you realize that this is what I want to do for my life. Do you remember any of that instance? That how was it? Where was it? Can you share something about that?
So it was a very cliche picture. It was, I used to click pictures of raindrops falling on those flower petals. So basically, like I used to love, right now, obviously monsoon is going on, and I love monsoon. I love to be close to nature. So anything like you see a beautiful flower, you see a beautiful butterfly, anything I see that I like, I used to capture that. I had no intention to be a photographer. It was just that I used to get happiness by taking photos, and fortunately that's the same even now. And so I'm enjoying my photography. Yeah.
Absolutely great. So, Saurabh, there came a wave in the country and all over the world that once the digitization started and once DSLR became a little affordable, people thought that, jiske paas DSLR hai, anybody could buy, and then if you buy the gadget, you become a photographer. This became like a norm in some time. But I want you to tell the world that how different it is, that it's not just about owning a technically gadget, which is like a very good camera, but the technique that goes behind that tech, that's much more important. So for all the viewers who are currently watching this, how many of you would love to learn a few important photography tips from Saurabh? Please go ahead and type tips in the comment box, because I am taking notes when he's going to share about the journey of how we can also create some amazing pictures. So Saurabh, up to you. Can you give us a little idea about how to do that for beginners? Please go ahead.
Abhay actually told a very good point. See, the thing is, a camera is just a tool that is converting your visualization into a digital format. Like for example, if expensive cameras would have made you a better photographer, then a more expensive pen and a book would have made you a better author, right? But that's not the case, right? So obviously, talking about tips about photography, the first thing I would like to always say is there are a lot of good photographers in the world, and like with the help of Instagram and social networking sites, internet, we have access to a work of legendary world-class photographers as well. And this is how I feel I'm not a professional photographer, to be very honest. I'm still learning. I just share the information that I have. So what I do is I look up to those world class photographers and I take inspiration from them. A lot of people, they feel bad that they cannot click photos like them and they get discouraged, but that's not the right approach. What they have to understand is, like any other art form, like any other career field, photography also requires a lot of patience. You have to be a lot patient when you are into wildlife photography, when you're into street photography, also in landscape photography. You will understand that, as like any genre of photography, you will understand that patience is the key towards success, and that's not only related to photography, be it any other career field. So that is one thing I've realized lately in the past couple of years, and that has changed my perspective towards photography a lot. I mean, earlier I realized I used to go to some place and I used to take a lot of photos, right? I used to come up I used to come home with 200 300 images of a single location. But I remember that, like, once I understood the thing about having patience, what I started reducing the number of shots. I started observing the nature more closely. I started asking myself a question: why do you want to exactly take this image? What do you want the viewer to see in this image? Basically, and I don't like to use the word take an image. I like to use the word make an image. A photographer makes an image, right? A painter makes a painting. So that is the word I like to use. And right now I have completely changed my workflow. When I go to a location, I also like to enjoy that particular location, but also I'm not overwhelmed. I'm calm and I think very peacefully exactly what I want to do and what kind of story do I want to tell with images. And this is, I feel, a very important tip, because photography or filmmaking, be it any kind of art form, you have to tell a story to the viewer, right? So when you are composing an image, when you turn on your camera, be it a professional camera or a smartphone, the intention, the objective is the story that you felt while taking the image should be conveyed to the viewers. That is most important in case of photography or filmmaking. And that's the point, even that supports Abhay's point. It doesn't matter if you own an expensive camera. An expensive camera is not going to improve your ability of storytelling, is not going to improve your creativity, your visualization, right? I have seen photographers, world class photographers, taking amazing award winning images just with a simple basic DSLR or even with a smartphone. So like, now they have expensive cameras because it's their profession, but even if you give them a basic camera, they will still create amazing images just because the basics are strong, right? Basics of photography should be cleared, like the composition, the camera settings. That is something that should be like much more, that like there the focus should be diverted. But I feel a lot of people nowadays are focused more towards the equipment side, more towards the number of followers on Instagram. I, from my channel, always tend to give this message to people that don't run behind number of followers on Instagram. More number of followers doesn't mean you are a better photographer, to be very honest. So don't go behind that. Actually focus more on improving your art skill.
Absolutely great. I think, Saurav, what you have mentioned is the golden rule of photography to begin with. That even before we go ahead with the main core part of the tips, I want all the viewers to please type these two words in the comments which he mentioned. First is patience, and second is purpose. That why are you taking a picture? What's the story that you want the viewer to see when the person sees that picture? So go ahead and please type these two things in the comments, which is patience and purpose. Very, very important. Meanwhile, all the viewers, in a few moments' time, Saurav is also going to share some of his favorite work that he has done, and is going to share the pictures live in front of us. So make sure you stay there till the end, because you're going to see something amazing. And not just see, but you get to interact with Saurav also. So if you have any question regarding photography, that how do I take a better picture, how do I record a better video, how do I take a selfie, lighting, etc., etc., please feel free to use the comments and ask maximum questions possible. So Saurav, let's move on. And if there's someone who's beginning just now, he doesn't have a DSLR, that person doesn't have a hefty camera, an average smartphone, but the person wants to utilize this lockdown time to create something good in terms of maybe pictures or videos or etc. So if you're currently stuck at home, what can we do with the existing equipment we have? So can you share some light on that? Thank you.
Obviously. Actually, before even starting to take photos, now is a very good time to learn stuff, because now we are stuck at home. but instead of seeing it in this way, like every cloud has a silver lining, okay? We are stuck at home. That means we get more time to learn things. You have YouTube videos, you have online courses, you have more time to sit back and experiment with your camera. What used to happen earlier was people used to go to different locations and then they used to figure out what camera settings should they use. But right now is a very good time to sit back and watch tutorials, read informative articles. And then talking about taking photos at home, you can do a lot of things, right? I mean, talking about, you can do still life photography, you can experiment with different lighting sources, you can experiment with, like, I used to do this a lot. What I used to do is I used to take photos in different camera settings. So, like, slightly going to the technical part, in manual mode, you have your aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. These are the three things important in the exposure triangle. So I used to experiment with these three settings at home with different lighting situations. So I used to throw an object in the glass of water, then I used to experiment with shutter speed, I used to take photos of flowers, I used to experiment with aperture, I used to shoot in a darker room, I used to experiment with ISO. And that period of experimentation, like, because I spent those hours, because I spent those time, uh like on I made sure my basics are very strong, and that is the reason I could explain it to people in a similar manner, and that is the reason I'm not confused while I'm taking an image. So when you're at home, you can obviously experiment with different lighting source you have. You can play with your mobile flash, you can play with your torch. Light painting is a very interesting thing you can do at home. You just need a light source that can be, as I said, a candle, a torch, a mobile flash, anything. You can use a slower shutter speed, you can move the device, and you can create some amazing light painting images, and people won't even know that you created them at your home. So these are some things you can definitely do at home, and I feel you should really utilize this time very intelligently, and it will definitely benefit you in the future.
Absolutely great. So, how many of you watching this agree to the fact that this is the best time to learn and upgrade your skills? If you agree, then please go ahead and type learn in the comment box, because this is the best time. I've been watching videos from Saurav on his channel, and I've learned a lot about what can be done being at home, what kind of a studio can be set up, how do we do the basic editing part. That's absolutely great. Thank you for that, Saurav. So moving on towards the next part, we have got a few pictures from Saurav's end also. So Saurav, you tell me whenever you want to share, let me know so that we can share it with the audience. And the audience can also ask questions anytime that you want, okay? So I guess, so should we go ahead and share a few pictures with them?
Sure,
so
sure.
you can give us
Yes,
a story
sure.
behind that. And then we can head towards some more parts about important tips and tricks, what we can do being at home and in general photography for beginners. So I'm going to share his pictures in a moment. So make sure that you enjoy this and let me know in the comments, how do you feel when you see that picture? If you feel it's breathtaking, mention that. If you feel it's beautiful, mention that. Because I guess, there's nothing better than appreciation that comes live from people when they see it, right? So let's make sure that we make Saurav feel great for the efforts that he has taken. So let me quickly add it on the stream here. So yes, Saurav, please go.
So this is obviously not the image that I've taken. I have kept this image first because I want to tell people how I love being close to nature. This was shot last week. So it's a small river stream in my hometown, and I love being close to nature. It doesn't matter if I'm in water, it doesn't matter if I'm in a muddy situation. I don't care about like anything, right? I mean, I haven't had breakfast, I haven't had lunch, but the whole day I could just keep taking photos because I love doing it. And I'm extremely passionate about what I do, and I'm really lucky that I'm able to do it. So again, this is not the image that I've taken, but a slight introduction kind of. This is one of my favorite images from Krangsuri. This is Krangsuri waterfalls in Meghalaya. And one of my favorite images, a very simple image, but I really like how this image gives a nice perspective and like does justice to the beauty of nature. I mean, obviously, no image can give justice or do justice to how beautiful nature is, but that's a job. That's my motive as a landscape photographer, to present the viewers with the best possible image I can. And this is one of my favorite images. And definitely, if you people have not explored North India, I would definitely recommend you to. There are some amazing places, some explored, some unexplored. And yes, if you have a good interest for landscape photography, for travel photography, North India is a very good place for that. I'll go for the next image. So this image is again very special to me. if if you people see the image very carefully, the line that you see is the Milky Way galaxy that we are a part of, right? And that is the the white fade line of the stars you can see. And this comes under the genre of astrophotography, which is a subgenre of landscape photography. And why this image is very special to me, because definitely I love astrophotography. It's a magical experience. As a photographer, even if you are a landscape photographer or you're not, you should definitely try astrophotography once. It's an extremely magical experience. Doesn't matter if you get good or bad images, the whole experience is pretty good. And I just to interrupt, uh, as a photographer, what matters to me is the experience I have while taking photos. Lot of people only focus on the result and they don't focus on the whole journey, and that's a wrong approach according to me. You have to enjoy what you do, and then you'll be able to express yourself more creatively. Talking about this particular image, to the left, if you see, there are certain insects on the left per tree, and those are fireflies. And fireflies are in abundance just before the monsoon season. So you really have to plan, you really have to study the weather, you really have to study the behavior of habitats and how and when they are in abundance and what is the behavior in what different seasons. And this kind of images take a lot of planning, because you not only have to find a tree with good number of fireflies, but also you have to make sure the positioning of the Milky Way is right. And this image was taken at 3:30 a.m. and I am generally a guy who like gets to bed about 10:30 p.m. and then I'm like, doesn't matter what's happening, I'm not awake. But I remember this was the first time I tried my hands on astrophotography, and I could not sleep even for a second. I was so excited about it. So this image is very, very special to me. Talking about the next image, very simple image. Why I chose this image to show you people is because my love for clouds, my love for greenery and blue sky. This image represents my love for that. Wherever I see any kind of greenery, so I live in Maharashtra, we have Sayadri mountains here, and in monsoon season it looks extremely beautiful. And the sad reason is, due to the pandemic, we can't go anywhere right now. But this is shot in my hometown. I'm lucky enough to stay close to nature. And yes, nothing much special about the image, a very simple image with a very simple framing, but this shows my love towards landscape photography. The next image, talking about this next image, it's a magical place. It's This place is again in the Meghalaya. It like, as I shown you this particular image from Krangsuri waterfalls. This image was taken in the same trip, the day before I took that particular image. So a lot of people thought that this image was edited or manipulated in Photoshop, but this is how it exactly looks. It is taken by a drone, and obviously a drone allows us to be more creative, right? I mean, with a normal camera, you can't see this particular perspective, but the latest generation technology is helping us to. And Doki River in Meghalaya is one of my favorite places. The water is extremely crystal clear with like almost zero pollution, and such places are very rare to see right now with the increasing level of pollution and how we people are destroying it. But still, it feels good to see that there are places like this that's as calm and as clear as this one. So this is the next image. Again, slightly different from the images I've shown you right now. I showed you the images from nature. This goes into more of architecture side, but this is Singapore, and Singapore is one of my favorite cities to visit. It's a very beautiful city, very well planned city. This is taken at the Merlion Park, and it's a very beautiful location. The image was taken just before sunset, and this is something I'd like to give you as a tip. When you reach a location, don't only shoot during the sunset. So what I do is, when I reach a location, I go before sunset, so that I can shoot not only before sunset, I can shoot the sunset when you have the golden light, and I can shoot after sunset as well when you have the blue light. So the golden hour and blue hour are my favorite time to shoot landscape images, and this is one of the image out of that city, and I think it turned out to be pretty great. So next image is again, it's a image captured in Bali. So it's again a drone image. It's a the temple that you are able to see in the right bottom is a holy temple, and I had a beautiful sunset that time. It's a very beautiful place. The temple is situated in a very odd location, in a very beautiful location near the beach, and I wanted to capture the whole place. I not only wanted to capture the temple, but I wanted to show you how grand the place is and how beautiful the place is. When you combine Mother Nature with like anything that's structurally beautiful, like this particular ancient temple, it just looks so beautiful. And that was the intention behind taking this image. This again, a small temple. This is the Khandoba Mandir in Mulgaon, Badlapur, and it's again a drone image. So, like sharing a slight story behind this. This place is not very far from my home, and the climbing, like you have to climb, and it just takes about. But for fitness, it's a very good climb. I mean, if you do this kind of treks every like once or twice in a month, you are bound to be fit. So I love to go to this place, and if you can see, this was taken exactly last year in the month of July, and if you can see, the trees are green in color, but there are shades of green, right? Every tree has its own different color, and that's what makes this image so special. So the temple is situated only there is one temple, and it's situated in the middle of the forest with such beautiful trees. And once you go there, the whole experience, the whole view is extremely amazing. I love this place, and that's why this image is so special to me. The colors is something I love about this image. This image is special to me. It's not a landscape image. I guess I'm done with showing landscapes for now. This is an image which captures the essence of childhood. So right now, I feel sad when I see children playing on their mobile phones, and like even if they go outside their homes, they play on their mobile phones. And this image was captured last year. So
Saurav, I'm so sorry to
yeah.
interrupt you here. Yeah, now the image is visible. When you were mentioning about the childhood image, it was actually the previous image on screen, but now we can see it. So one quick
Okay.
question to all the viewers: how many of you, by seeing that images, you're feeling absolutely great visually, and it feels like, even in a lockdown situation, it's like you wish you were there at that place. If you feel so, then please go ahead and type beautiful in the comment box, because I saw all the pictures and it felt so very beautiful. So thank you, Saurav, for that, and you can please continue.
Yes, sure, Abhay, sure. When I see this image, it always reminds me that how we used to play in childhood, and we didn't have these mobile phones. And I feel very lucky that I did not have access to all this latest technology as a child, because I feel even I would have fallen into the same like circle of using technology. But this children are playing. They have no worries about their career. They are free, they are happy, they are enjoying. And that was something I wanted to show in this particular image. A slight backstory about this particular place: it's a village area where there is no proper electricity right now. Like the facilities have improved, but still the people there are very happy. And whenever I go to these places, it makes me very humble, because like even if people don't have all these luxurious facilities, they still can be happy. And people with a lot of luxurious facilities, they still are not happy. So when I go to these places, it makes me I understand what real happiness is, and definitely makes me feel a lot better about life. So again, the last couple of images is slightly related to wildlife, and this one was taken in Singapore. And I love this image because this image is taken during afternoon, but it's very difficult to figure out that this image is taken in afternoon. It looks like there's a lot of editing done, but it's all about understanding how highlights and shadows and how light is affecting your particular image. So if you study light, when I went to this location, I knew that there's a lot of harsh light, but I knew that the birds are extremely bright, and those will be very strong highlights compared to the darker shadows in the background. So that was one technique I used. This is an example of a low-key photography. A low-key photo is a photo where there are very few brighter parts with a darker colored background. So this was one image where I experiment with highlights and shadows, and I feel it turned out to be pretty good. The last image is again a similar kind. It's a slightly low-key image, not much. You still can see a bit of water, but the intention was this is captured in Bharatpur. It's a beautiful national park for birds. There are a bit of other wild animals as well, like we spotted hyena, we spotted jackal as well. But for birds, Bharatpur is an amazing place. So people who are fond of wildlife photography, people who are fond of bird photography, definitely you should visit Bharatpur. It's not at all expensive. It is the cheapest national park that I have visited in India, and the experience is really good. You get a lot of time to spend with the nature, spend with birds. And talking about this particular moment, the bird was extremely fast, and the bird was busy catching fishes. I wanted to capture a moment where I could see the reflection of the bird, and at the same time I could freeze the moment where the bird spreads its wings. And that was the intention behind the image. And yes, that's the set of images I have for you people today.
Wow, how many of you seeing that you really felt good? And I love especially the last couple of images, and even the ones wherein the small children were playing with the tire and the stick in the hand. And those are very nostalgic because it takes us to the childhood, and that was something, the best moments that we all had shared. So how many of you were very inspired by seeing those pictures? Let us know in the comments, and also let us know which was your favorite one. So you can just go ahead and type that. So meanwhile, as we progress towards the second half of our talk, the session that we have, so Saurav, you have visited a lot of places in India and abroad also. You just mentioned a few of them with pictures that you had here. So travel becomes an essential part of photography too, right? So what were some of the most unknown places which normal people might not know? So like for example, Bali is pretty famous, or we say Shimla, it's pretty famous. But what are the hidden treasures that we have in India specifically, where you have been, maybe our locality, our nearby areas, and you were mesmerized by the views? So what were some of the places like that? Can you share about that?
To be very honest, I live in Badlapur, and Badlapur is a place which has a lot of natural beauty. So there is this small villages in the outskirts of my hometown, and really the images are extreme, like the locations are extremely beautiful. You have very beautiful waterfalls, you have very beautiful forest, river streams and stuff. And to create better images, you don't have to go to a better location. Even in a simple location, you can create a very special image if you have that vision and if you have a purpose behind taking that image, as I mentioned before. So yes, there are a lot of places in India. One of the places I feel is the North India is still very unexplored. Like as Abhay said, a lot of people know about Shimla, Manali, Ladakh, but there are a lot of beautiful villages in northern part of India that I haven't been to, but I would love to as soon as the pandemic situation is over. So these are the villages that is like, those are not commercialized, very few people go there, so you could really spend a lot of time. And as a photographer, I don't like to be in a place where it's crowded. I like to be in a silent place so that I can think peacefully. And yes, North India is definitely one of that. And even in, I feel, in the southern part of, actually India as a whole country is very beautiful. Like talking about even the southern part of India, when I went to Kerala, I realized that there are so many beautiful places in and around Kerala that we didn't know about. And one thing I would like to tell that is, when you go to a location, you should obviously visit the mainstream location that is famous, but you should always talk to the local people there and get to know the locations that people usually don't go to, the unexplored places. And I usually like to spend more amount of days when I go to a location, so that I can spend more amount of time in these unexplored places. And yes, that's my approach towards travel photography. Talking about my favorite place for travel photography, it definitely has to be Meghalaya till now. It's a very beautiful place.
Wow, that's great. Super. Thank you, Saurav, for that. So we had one question which was by Archit, which he's mentioned in the comments. And the question is that in India, if you have to do photography using drones, so do you require like a particular license for that, or could you just buy a drone and then you can use it?
See, talking about drone, the reason why you need a permission, or the reason why you have to be safe, like you have to follow some safety precautions while flying a drone is because of security reasons, right? You could harm a particular like a bird or any particular person, so you have to be really like careful about that. Talking about like the rules in India, you definitely have to register your drone. So the drone I use is the DJI Mavic 2 Pro, and the drone is registered. And I don't fly in public places where there are a lot of people. I fly usually in the mountains, in the forest areas where there is no danger of harming anyone else. So that is something I do. But if you want to fly in a public area, you definitely have to take permission of the local police before you do that. But if you explain why you want to do that, and if you're like if you have a proper experience flying drone, and like if you have a proper communication with the local police, then a lot of the times you will get a permission.
Okay, that's absolutely great. Thank you, Saurav, for that. I hope, Archit, that answers your question. And for the viewers, if you have any other questions, use the chat box. Go ahead and comment so that we can address it and Saurav can immediately answer it up. So, Saurav, the next part of your journey. So, one was about being a photographer, following your passion, which you did. But now what happens is, if a child today or somebody who's an aspiring photographer goes and has a word with the parents saying कि मुझे photographer बनना है, so then typically they give a reason saying ठीक है photography तो मजे के लिए कर, but how would you earn out of it, right? So what's the monetization part of pursuing a passion like this, and what can be the steps for someone who's a budding photographer? If the person wants to have a family and an income based on this as a passion, so what would be your tips? How can the person invest the time, effort, money to then generate something wherein he can also be a breadwinner using photography?
See, here's the thing. If you have seen there are a lot of wildlife photographers in India, and there are a lot of landscape photographers in India. But when it comes to photography, especially in India, it's very difficult to earn money as a professional wildlife or a landscape photographer. In India, there's a lot of scope of earning money in wedding, in architecture shoots, in portrait, indoors shoots and stuff. And you can earn a lot of money in that particular genre, 100%. But there's a way to go about it. See, photography is an art form where there's a lot of competition. And when you want to earn well, when you want to be in the top higher parts of the competition, the one thing you have to understand is you have to stand out from the rest of the crowd. And when a company approaches you, or when a particular family approaches you for any kind of event, what they will see is your portfolio. And this is something I always tell. It doesn't matter as a photographer what degree you have. What matters is what kind of portfolio do you have. If I want to hire, suppose, an architecture photographer, I will see the portfolio of yours. If I like the images that you have taken, then I will hire you. It doesn't matter to me what institute you're from. What matters to me is how mature your work is, how well you can take images, and if you meet my needs, you're good to go. So building a portfolio is like building a strong resume. That's a very important point. And second thing is finding your signature style. Right? As I said, you have to stand away from the crowd. You have to be slightly different from the crowd. The question I get a lot of times is sort of how do you find a signature style? That is with practice and experimentation. When you experiment, when you try out different things, then you understand what are you interested in, and that's how you start mastering a particular thing. In photography or in any art form, there are a lot of subgenres. Like as I said, landscape, astro, wildlife, street, portrait, architecture, lot of different subgenres. So you have to find a genre that you like, and how you do that is by trying out everything. And once you find a genre that you like, that is the time you invest more in that particular genre and start building your style. As I said, take inspiration from other wildlife photographers, but add something that's unique to you, that will make sure that you get a lot of clients and you earn a lot of money and become a successful photographer. Yes.
Absolutely great. Thank you, Saurav. Very crisp and clear and on point. So keep building your portfolios, and eventually if you give value, you will definitely get in return enough so that you can survive and then thrive also. Thank you for that. So one quick question we have from Prateek. He has mentioned this, that we haven't seen much of macro shots. So any specific reason? So that's a little technical, but I would still love for you to just express people about what exactly are micro shots, macro shots, and a little bit of information about that.
Talking about thanks Prateek for the question, and yes, definitely I have clicked very less macro images. One of the reasons is for macro photography, when it comes to DSLRs, you need lenses that is able to capture those macro images. I don't have that lens. That is one reason. But the interesting thing about me as a photographer is I started photography by taking macro images. As I said, I started taking photos of flowers, butterfly. So when you take images of small objects, as Abhay told me to explain what macro photography is, taking images of smaller objects, so and like making it, like magnifying it and making it look a real life object, is macro photography. And definitely I'm guilty of not trying macro photography lately, but to be very honest, I take a lot of macro photos. I don't share it on social media, but I take it just for the sake of myself and just because I enjoy it. But yes, definitely after reading this comment, I have to take more macro images. Obviously, that is one thing I'm guilty of.
Absolutely great. So thank you so much, Saurav. So again, it takes a big heart, to take a comment and then realize that yes, we can do a lot more, because learning never stops. And even when you are at the top, you still have the hunger to learn. So that's wonderful to know about you, Saurav. So moving ahead from the first phase of photography towards now, since the lockdown period started, people have been using videos more, so videography, and a lot of people have then now started their YouTube channels and they wish to grow on YouTube also. So what would be your tips for someone who has just started a new channel on YouTube, and the person is willing to post videos, content and all is available? So what can be a few tips, maybe the top 3 tips that you can give to an aspiring person who wants to create videos and show the message to the world? So what would be that?
Reason number 1, you should have a very concrete idea about your YouTube channel. Your YouTube channel is not about a single video. So suppose I talk about photography and I just make a single video and that's it. That's not going to work. Then my channel is not going to grow. I should have a purpose. My purpose behind YouTube channel was I will share everything about cameras, about photography. Then when I started making videos, I started learning more about videography, and then I expanded my scope of the channel to videography as well. So when you create a channel, having a good concrete idea initially is going to be very helpful. One is that thing. Second thing is, what I did is initially I created a set of videos that I felt are helpful for the audience. Then eventually, as the channel started growing, I started taking feedback from the audience and I started understanding more what the audience wants. Because when you're creating content, you're creating it for the audience. The audience is the king, right? So the audience is going to consume the content. So understanding what the audience wants is a very good thing. Third thing is the combination of these two things. First is obviously what you want to create. Second is what audience wants to see. Third is combining these two things so that you're not only creating for the audience, but you're creating what you like for the audience. So the audience is also enjoying your content, but at the same time, even you're enjoying making the content. And when both the people are enjoying, then it's a win-win situation.
Absolutely great. Super. Thank you so much, Saurav, for that. And as he mentioned very rightly that, you need to have the 3 things. You need to think about the audience. So in the training world, we always say that the genius is in the audience. So it's not about you. You are not the star. The star is the person who's watching it on the other side of the frame. So to quickly, we are getting towards the end of our session here. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask in the comments. And meanwhile, Saurav, so when we talk about learning any skill or progressing and going and choosing a career in every field, we typically focus on 3 important things. One is the mindset, one are the skill set, and the third is the tool set. So you have already mentioned about the mindset, that we should have the mindset of patience, of purpose, and start with why. That why do you need to enter into the world of photography? The second are the skill set. So you mentioned lockdown is the best time to learn new skills. So people can go and check it on YouTube, on other courses, and learn about photography. Now the third thing about the tool set. So if there's someone who's just starting out right now and say they have a decent budget and they are willing to invest, so what can be one of the most budgeted tools that the person can use in terms of maybe a camera, in terms of maybe the light settings, in terms of maybe a mic, etc. So what would be a budget for a new beginner who's starting out? And the second, what is the gear that you use yourself? So these 2 questions, please go ahead.
See, talking about cameras, I'll first talk about cameras, then I'll talk about the lighting and the mic setup. Talking about the cameras, a good rule to follow is like a lot of people make this mistake generally is, suppose you have like I'll talk in ratio, okay? Suppose you have 100 rupees, people spend in the ratio of 9:1. They spend 90 rupees for the camera and 10 rupees for the lens, and that's not going to give you the best quality. Because even if you have a very good quality camera, if you don't attach a good quality lens, it's not going to work. You have to attach very good quality optics, like the lenses, then you will get the best quality out of your camera. That's the first thing. So generally what I prefer to people is a ratio of 60s to 40 or 70s to 30 is a good starting point. Don't spend the whole money just to buy a camera. That won't do justice. That's the first thing. Talking about mic setup and the light setup is, I started shooting videos in natural light. I started shooting videos outdoors, and I recently got a lighting setup when I was forced to actually shoot videos indoors due to the unfortunate pandemic situation. But a mic can be a very simple mic. You can just get a lav mic that attaches to your t-shirt, attaches to your clothes. It's a very cheap microphone, but never use a internal microphone of the cameras, because doesn't matter how expensive your cameras are, the mic performance is extremely bad. I mean, and when you consider video, a video is an experience, right? You're not only watching the video, but you're also listening to the audio, and that experience as a whole matters. And if the video quality is not on par, that is fine. But if the audio quality is not good, then the viewer becomes distracted. So make sure you don't have to invest a lot. You don't have to spend a lot of money in buying microphones, but you can get a cheap microphone and still get a very good quality sound. And yes, before you invest, think carefully, because you should not regret after making an investment. There are a lot of YouTube videos, lot of reviews on the internet. Read everything. See, when you buy something, when you buy a gear, you have to first of all understand what your needs are. If you're clear about what your needs are, then this process of deciding what you want to buy will become slightly easier.
Okay, that's excellent, superb. And what about the current gear which you use? So what does Saurav Sinha use after having more than 7 lakh subscribers, being a professional in your field? What is your secret towards your quality content?
The gear I use my Nikon Z6. I have 3 Nikon cameras, a Z6, a D750. These 2 are full frame cameras. A third one is the Nikon Z50. It's a crop sensor camera. Talking about lenses, I have a 50mm prime lens that's good for portraits. I have a 70-200 lens that's good for some kind of wildlife and landscapes. I have a wide angle lens. Majority of the landscape shots that you saw today were taken with a wide angle lens. That's a 15-30mm lens. Talking about lighting, I have a softbox, and that's it. I just have a video light, continuous video light. And yes, that's it. A very simple setup. I mean, obviously you have a lot of cameras and lenses, but right now I feel lucky that I get to use all this technology. But I feel that your basis should be strong, and then you can use this gear properly. Otherwise,
correct,
it doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely great. Thank you so much, Saurav. So we are coming towards the end, and for all the viewers who stayed back till the end, thank you so much for watching this towards the end. And if you have any message for Saurav, go ahead and type it in the comment box. And how did you like the session? What was your biggest takeaway? In one line, in one word, that would be great. So Saurav, one final question before we wind up and we end our conversation here. So what would be those 3 do's and 3 don'ts for a photographer, for a videographer, or anybody who's using a camera to create content? 3 do's and 3 don'ts, and then we are good to go.
Okay. 3 do's is, again, build a portfolio, very important. Self-analysis is very important. So like, a lot of people depend on other feedbacks, but a lot of the times, as a photographer, as a videographer, as a content creator, it also matters that you spend a lot of time self-analyzing your work. Like, when you go deep into your work, you develop a different sense of understanding. That is one thing. Third is, as I said, try every genre. When it comes to photography, try out multiple genres. I myself, as I said, in the future, I will try macro photography. Even now, I do street photography, landscapes. Even if I don't want to become a professional wildlife or a street photographer, I just do this because I get to learn a lot of things from different genres. Every genre is unique and special in its own way, and they're going to teach you a lot of different things. So again, these 3 are the do's. Don'ts. First thing is, don't expect that a better camera, a more expensive camera, will give you better images. As I said before, in photography, a camera is just a tool. What matters is the person behind it. It's a very old cliche saying, but 100% it's the complete truth. Definitely a more expensive camera, a more expensive lens will give you better quality in terms of details, resolution, sharpness, ISO performance, but that is not going to improve your storytelling abilities, right? That is something you have to understand, you have to develop. The third don't is again, don't run behind the number of followers. That's the sad part. A lot of people right now focus on increasing their number of followers and increasing the number of likes on their photos, but a lot of very less people are focused towards the art form. Very less people discuss deep about how they could improve their creativity, how they could improve the ability and their skill set. And I feel that should be something that people should focus upon. And I mean, this is the right approach according to me, and this is my motive behind my channel. I like to inspire my audience and guide my audience in the right direction. And yes, that was all the tips I had for you people.
Absolutely great, Saurav. It's an honor having you on the show. And this was the question which I asked also Mithilesh. So for the viewers who might not know MythPat, which we had in the previous episode of this genre. So MythPat, Saurav, me, we are all from the same college. And I asked this question to MythPat towards the end. And I would want Saurav also to answer the same, to see that what would Saurav do when put in a tricky spot, okay? So this is nothing related to photography. This is a simple question that imagine you're on YouTube and you are live, and the entire world, all 7 billion people in the world are live and currently watching to you. So what would be your message to them if you had to give in 30 seconds or a minute? So imagine all 7 billion people are watching to you right now. What would be your message to the world in 30 seconds or a minute? Saurav, the stage is all yours.
Subscribe to my channel, share it with everyone, and that's it. Okay, so yes, I have a bit of like a funny side to me, and but no, on a serious note, I would the message I would like to give people is do what you love and have a purpose behind whatever you are doing. Be grateful for what you have. We as human beings have a tendency to be unhappy at every stage of life. We don't see that what we have today or what situation we are in today. We are extremely lucky and grateful to be here. A lot of people in this pandemic situation are not able to get proper food and shelter. We are able to get those basic needs. Still we complain about things, and if that is your approach, it doesn't matter where you are, how successful you are, you're never going to be happy in your life. Be happy with what you are today, and you will be happy forever. Thank you.
Absolutely great, Saurav. That's simply amazing. I love the way how you put it up at the end. So I'll quickly read a few comments which people have put for this session, that what they felt like. So we had Suma who says that the story behind what you feel like from the photo, that should be clear. Unless you have a story you want to show, photography makes no sense. So thank you, Suma, for that. We have Zui who says that do what you love. That is what she loved from this session. So well done, Saurav. You have inspired her for that. We have Rajita who says that before starting, get your purpose clear, that why you are doing it. Only then can you go ahead. So thank you so much for that. We have Archit who says you're awesome, Saurav. Very nice session. Great smile. So you've got a lot of fans today for sure. So thank you so much once again for being a part of this session and this masterclass, and helping everybody on here to learn a few things about how we can go ahead and become a good photographer and learn it to increase and monetize our life. So thank you so much once again, and thank you for all the viewers also for tuning back and staying here towards the end. If you have enjoyed this video, then do give it a thumbs up, like it, share it, and subscribe to the channel, and keep watching more videos, because I keep bringing more masterclass for your happy learning. So thank you so much everyone, and stay safe and take care. Saurav, your closing comments?
Yes, take care people. It's a difficult situation, and I wish this situation, I hope this situation gets over as soon as possible. But definitely, as I said, every cloud has its silver lining. So make the best use out of this time, and yes, all the best. Find a purpose and go ahead. You people are amazing, and you can achieve anything you want. Just stay focused and stick to it, and definitely you will be successful one day.